Is it a shootout over missing receipts?
Even worse, departments are missing documentation, they're sharing passwords, and somebody even approved their own purchase order.
Well, golly. Share passwords, that's like sharing a toothbrush. Some things just aren't meant to be communal. And self-approvals, that's a violation of the Segregation of Duty Act of 1887.
I checked the system log. Same person prepared, approved, and reconciled. It's like a one-person rodeo out here.
Classic case of control breakdown. When one person handles all parts of a process, you might as well hand them the keys to the vault.
A one-person rodeo. Lawless behavior. I'll get the road.
According to University Policy 01-02, internal controls and enterprise risk management, that's strictly forbidden. But hey, at least it's documented on this napkin here.
Separation of duties has left the building, folks. Now on our top 3 most wanted list.
Smells like an opportunity for fraud. Faint, but familiar. A little like a tumbleweed of trouble.
No documentation, no approvals, no
Accountability.
no backup. Sounds like controls have gone belly up again.
Then it's time to saddle up, folks. We gotta ride and restore order and accountability.
All right, y'all, let's grab your clipboards and your caffeine. We're riding off into danger. Sheriff, quick question before we ride off. What kind of danger are we riding into?
Trouble, newbie. That's trouble with a capital C for missing control.
Well, hey, y'all, and welcome to another edition of Division of Audit Training on Internal Controls. So before you and your team ride off into the wild frontier of university life, let's make something mighty clear. Internal controls ain't just about boring paperwork, and it definitely ain't something that audit came up with for fun. Internal controls are how we keep the university safe, honest, and running effectively and efficiently. At FAMU, internal controls protect our mission, university resources, accurate records, and ensure compliance with laws and policies. And much like a good fence at a ranch, controls keep the bad varmints out and your information and assets safe. They also make sure everyone on the ranch is held accountable. And that foundation comes straight from the FAMU Board of Trustee policy on internal controls and ERM, which underlines the importance of sound internal control practices and formally adopts the COSO framework of internal controls for FAMU. There's also the university policy on internal controls and ERM, which clearly defines the roles and responsibilities for implementing the university's internal control framework for every university employee. And there's the Federal Green Book, which is accepted by the public sector as the substantial equivalent of COSO, and it provides excellent training and a reference tool for taking a deeper dive into understanding that COSO framework. And just like at FAMU, in Control Junction, every employee plays a role. And if everyone assumes someone else is watching the fence, well, that's when trouble is guaranteed to run amok.
General stores. Whoops.
Well, there's the petty cash. It's more like petty chaos to me.
Who in the world keeps money in a boot?
There's a snake.
Boo.
That ain't no snake. That's a rattler. And we know what rattlers do. They strike
And strike and strike again.
just like them repeat audit findings.
Well, I mean, look at this mess. It's a controlled catastrophe. It reminds me of that great accounts payable incident of 2019. And you know, we still haven't found that missing stapler.
Or that time someone used password 123 for the payroll drive. That was a root breach.
I noticed folks around here use internal controls like chili powder, a little here, a little there. Nobody really measures it. Can we talk about what controls really mean?
Of course, Deputy. Internal controls are like fences around our ranch. They keep the good cows in and the bad varmints out.
That's right, Sheriff. Controls help ensure the operations run efficiently. Our reports are accurate, and we follow the law of the land, university policy.
And they keep varmint like fraudulent freedom from sneaking into the back door.
Well, this fence is full of holes, missing approvals, no documentation, and somebody's using old forms from 2014.
And look here, no reconciliations, shared passwords. This ain't a fence, it's a suggestion.
Don't they know passwords are kind of like underwear? You don't share them. You don't leave them lying around. And you change them at least once in a while.
That's a crime in at least 3 control frameworks.
What in the world is miscellaneous supplies?
I'll tell you what it is. It's code for snack and sent to camp.
See? This is what I'm talking about. This is what happens when departments forget about the 5 commandments of control. Number 1, thou shalt secure those assets, no exceptions. Number 2, thou shalt separate them duties and keep them straight. Number 3, thou shalt document every single transaction. Number 4, thou shalt review and approve like it's the law. And number 5, thou shalt monitor and correct those errors, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right. So internal controls keep the Wild West from turning into a rodeo for bread. The tone at the top says we lead by example.
Put that on the mug.
Or a policy memo. Either way, that's a solid.
Sheriff Marshall, I think I cracked the case. There were no controls in the first place.
Well, let's teach them how to build a fence proper. One that don't just look good from the road, but one that keeps the cows in and keeps the coyotes out. And one that won't fall over the moment somebody leans on it.
Yeah!
Now, see there? Scene 2 shows what happens when leadership is uninvolved or just shrug their shoulders and say, they'll figure it out. Now, that's a bad idea. You see, the control environment, also known as the tone at the top, is the moral backbone of any internal control system. So if leaders cut corners, you better believe staff is sure to follow. But if leaders value integrity, accountability, and expectations, well, then the rest of the crew will too. You see, a strong control environment requires ethical leadership. And that means doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. Clear structure and roles so that everyone understands their responsibilities. Adherence to policies that aren't just written, but enforced and utilized in daily practice. Competent and trained employees who have the necessary skill set to perform their job and meet the expectations. And accountability, so that all of your processes have owners and owners take responsibility for their processes. Now, does that sound familiar? Well, it should, because the Board of Trustees policy on internal controls and ERM says that FAMU leadership must set the tone. And the university policy on internal controls and ERM requires managers to evaluate internal controls on a minimum annual basis. And that green book defines integrity, structure, competence, and accountability as non-negotiable. So that means if leadership acts like outlaws, don't be surprised when the rest of the town does too.
Woo! We got ourselves a sandstorm outside. I bet it knocked down the systems again.
Nope, systems are fine except someone accidentally deleted the entire shared drive labeled confidential reports.
Accidentally, huh? That word's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
This here's what happens when nobody thinks to ask, what could go wrong?
I see it. Unmonitored system access controls.
No backup policy? No problem. Until there's a problem.
That's right. No control environment. Our favorite combo platter of chaos.
Risk assessment, folks. Identify what could go wrong before it tramples your operation.
I assess this risk as partly cloudy with a 100% chance of corrective action.
And remember, y'all, good controls ain't about mistrust. It's about protection.
It's not that we don't trust folks. It's just that we like having receipts.
Exactly. Trust but verify, preferably in triplicate.
And document the verification. Because undocumented trust is just wishful thinking.
And you can't audit wishful thinking, partner.
Even a cowboy double checks his saddle before the rodeo.
Or make sure his Wi-Fi password isn't still 1, 2, 3, 4.
Because that's not security. That's just an open range.
The lesson here, folks, is the people, processes, and structures all need backup and review and monitoring. Otherwise, it's just chaos on the range.
Well said, Marshall. Now let's get management to fix these issues before the next dust storm hits.
Yeehaw!
Well, it appears scene 3 wasn't just entertainment because it showed a simple truth. If you never ask what could go wrong, well, you're going to end up finding out the hard way. Risk assessment means identifying what could derail your mission, deciding how likely that event is to occur, and then figuring out how bad the damage will be if it actually happened. And then finally, you want to do something about it before it becomes a huge emergency. And FAMU actually requires this through our university policy on internal controls and ERM, which provides direction to anticipate threats, implement safeguards such as backups and monitoring, and take early action to prevent operational breakdowns. And the Board of Trustee policy on internal controls and ERM sets the expectations for a strong internal control system, formal risk management structure, and proactive assessment of vulnerabilities. And there's also the Board of Trustees Information Security Control Policy, which requires periodic risk analysis addressing information security threats, access vulnerabilities, authentication practices, and recovery readiness. And we also have the ERM Risk Identification Toolkit, which can be used to guide departments through systematic processes to identify, document, and evaluate potential risks based on their likelihood and impact. So if that shared deletion or unsecured access or lack of backup sounded familiar, well, that's because in higher ed, risk reports show IT and cyber risk are our top threats. So moral of the story, don't wait to see the dust cloud gather on the horizon before you start saddling up your horse.
All right, Frida, we know you're in there. Come out with your unapproved invoices. Oh.
You'll never stop me. I have access, authority, and no segregation integrity.
That's what you
Get away
think.
from me.
That's what you think. One person approving, reviewing, and recording? Not on my watch.
Fill out this corrective action form, Frida, and make sure you route it to DocuSign for all the authorizations.
These here types of controls, they're the things that stop people like Frida here. They prevent, detect, and correct issues. These control activities, they're our first line of defense.
And in my world, two-factor authentication is the law of the land.
And yet somehow, people keep writing their passwords on sticky notes.
I still do. I still do. That's wrong.
Control activities are everyone's responsibility, not just ours. You're the first line of defense against fraud, waste, and mismanagement.
Doing the right thing is better than getting caught. Trust me.
Controls like your IT updates, ignore them long enough and everything crashes.
Or your budget. Skip one reconciliation and suddenly the math ain't mathing.
Remember, strong controls, they don't mean you're in trouble, they mean you're protected.
Like antivirus for the soul.
Approvals ain't a formality. They're the difference between control and chaos.
Exactly. And if fraudulent Frida could sign her own paperwork, we might as well have her the safe and a gift card since nobody's around here watching purchases.
The lesson here is approvals, reviews, and checks. They keep honest people honest and dishonest people nervous.
Well said, Marshall. Now let's make sure management reins in these out of control activities before that next ambush hits, because we know it's coming. Yeah!
Now, did this scene feel personal to you? Did it? Well, if so, it's probably because control activities are the day-to-day actions that prevent problems, detect issues, and correct them before they get worse. That means there's absolutely no room for fraudulent Fridas or self-approvals or no segregation of duties or missing signatures or sticky note passwords or I'll approve myself, thanks energy. Common internal control activities include required approvals, segregation of duties, reconciliations on a regular basis, documentation, and IT protections. And that's because this ain't the Wild Wild West for real. FAMU has policies backing all of it. Like the university policy on internal controls and ERM, it mandates segregation of duties and proper approvals, reinforcing the scene's lesson that one person approving, recording, and reviewing is just not appropriate. And there's the Board of Trustee policy on internal controls and ERM, which directly addresses fraud prevention and segregation of duties to help you avoid a showdown at your department. But there's also the Internal Controls Overview on the Division of Audit's webpage, which explains what internal controls are and introduces that COSO framework, including more details about various control activities. And there's also an internal control self-assessment tool, which provides a checklist for evaluating departmental controls, including documentation and approvals. This resource could help managers ensure their processes prevent fraud and errors, just like the Audit Posse's intervention in the scene. So remember, approvals aren't annoying paperwork. They're the difference between a safety deposit box in a vault and an open cookie jar in the break room.
Well, I can see why communication broke down. This looks less like a messaging system and more like a haunted spiderweb.
Do we get hazard pay for this?
Okay, so according to my checklist, this department's information system is supposed to have structured communication, documented processes, and timely notifications.
Right now, all I see is performance anxiety.
Who designed this? An overcaffeinated coyote? I've seen cleaner wiring on a scarecrow.
This one says critical, read now,
What's the timestamp on that?
4 months ago.
Well, that crisis has surely lived a long and fulfilling life by now.
It's probably got a retirement plan too.
Here's another. It just says, per my last message, except there is no last message. No date, no topic, no context at all.
Ah, yes, the mystery communication, where you have to guess what the sender meant, like a game of departmental charades.
Communication isn't supposed to look like this. It ought to be clear, complete, timely, the right message to the right people at the right time, not a scavenger hunt or intrusive or interpretive dance or whatever this department thinks they're doing.
Got that right. If people don't understand or receive the information they need, the controls collapse before they even start. Information and communication is the backbone of the whole internal control system.
Exactly. Let's help management untangle these messaging lines before the next urgent request ends up in the unread forever barrel.
Yeah!
Well, if Scene 5 reminded you of your inbox or your department share drive or your per my last email nightmare, well, good. That means it worked. The information and communication component of internal control means the right people get the right information at the right time and in the right way. Meaning, if it's urgent, maybe a phone call or Zoom meeting is a better means of communication than sending a lengthy email or Teams message. And on top of being concise, correct, complete, and timely, always make sure your message is clear and easy to understand. Because nothing breaks a control system faster than missing messages, confusing instructions, delayed escalations, silence, or denial. And of course, FAMU has a lot of policies in place to help prevent communication chaos, like the Board of Trustees Communication and Telecommunication Policies, which both govern the infrastructure and use of our communication systems. They establish standards for the internal and external communications, helping ensure messages are accurate, concise, and reach the appropriate recipients on time. There's also the Board of Trustees Media Policy, which establishes how information is shared with the media and the public, who should speak, what is cleared, and how timely updates are issued. This keeps critical messages from getting lost or misrepresented. There's also the Board of Trustees Enterprise Information System Security and Control Policy, which appropriately protects university communication from destruction, disruption, alteration, or unauthorized access, disclosure, and misuse of the information. There's also university policies, like the FAMU Alert Policy, which establishes timely emergency notifications. That means no time for gathering dust and urgent messages go out fast and clearly. And there's also the Distance Learning Policy, which sets communication standards in online environments, reducing miscommunication in virtual channels. Bottom line, clear communication keeps everyone on the same trail and out of the same trouble.
We fixed the policies, we assessed the risks, locked down the controls, and cleared the lines. What now?
Well, now we monitor.
That's right, Sheriff. Monitoring ain't a set it and forget it type of thing. You gotta check them regular like a rancher mending his fences.
That's right. And now it's time for the last piece of the control puzzle. Monitoring. This is where we watch the watchers, test the fences, and make sure everything ain't falling apart in the background like a cheap porch swing after Thanksgiving dinner.
Nothing gets past me, Sheriff. Not a data glitch, not a suspicious login, not even a misplaced paperclip. Whoop!
Oh, easy there, Deputy Firewall. We need you upright.
I'm
looking for anything that wiggles, moves, and is remotely suspicious. You know, I once solved the case with a footprint and a hot Cheeto. Don't ask.
Monitoring is how we catch the small things before they turn into big, messy, multi-page audit reports and investigations. Trust me, nobody wants more of those.
Monitoring? It ain't glamorous. It ain't loud. It ain't dramatic. It's quiet. Steady work. Just like a rancher checking fences at sunrise. When we check our controls, we protect our people.
And when we analyze the trends, we safeguard the mission. Checking access logs before someone breaks something on a late Friday afternoon keeps tomorrow running smooth.
Like reviewing variances before someone tries to explain them away with rounding. Monitoring saves us from mysteries we didn't ask for, paperwork we didn't want, and stories that don't make sense to anybody.
Monitoring, that's how we stay ahead of the trouble. Out here, danger don't announce itself. It hides behind the shadows of missing approvals and late reconciliation. Our job is to see it coming before the dark clouds gather on the horizon.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw is right. Here's the hard truth of the frontier. Even the strongest fence breaks if nobody checks it. And monitoring means checking if controls still work, reviewing access logs, watching trends, fixing what's drifting. And of course, there's policies in place for that requirement too. The Board of Trustee policy on information security control explains how IT monitoring works, including keeping audit trails, limiting access, managing system privileges, reviewing risks, backing up systems, labeling data, and performing regular reviews. It's a lot of stuff. And there's the Board of Trustees policy on internal controls and ERM, which makes monitoring a required part of how the entire university operates. It isn't optional or limited to just IT. Every area has a responsibility to regularly check that controls are still working. We don't live in a one and done type of world. Controls drift, people drift, systems drift. Monitoring keeps the university, its people, and everyone's assets safe. Or like they say in Control Junction, the moment you stop watching your fences, well then that's when the cattle wander off.
All right, Posse. So now we've started this long watch. We found some issues, we identified some trends, and by using the 5 components of internal controls, we've saved Control Junction for another day.
That's right, Sheriff. The 5 components.
1. Control environment. The culture and tone at the top ought to lead by example and lay the foundation for ethical behavior. Accountability. Competency. If it ain't fit for your staff to do it, it ain't fit for you to do it either, partner.
2. Risk assessment. Know your threats before they hit. If you wait till the dust clouds overhead, it's already too late to saddle up.
3. Control activity. Implement safeguards and approvals. Without them, you're leaving the wretch gate wide open.
4. Information and communication. Share accurate info, timely and clear. The team can't stay on the same trail if half of them are following old maps and guesswork.
And number 5, monitoring. Keep watch and fix what's broken. If you don't, the problem will come back louder, crankier, and even dragging some of his friends with it.
All right, before we wrap this shift, does anyone see anything else we need to add to our monitoring list?
Nope, all clear.
For now.
Until Monday.
Or until somebody else does something without approval.
Oh gosh. Just remember, we gotta stay vigilant, stay prepared, and keep a long watch.
This town might be quiet here control junction. But the moment you stop monitoring, trouble finds its way back into your fences. So always remember,
Check your fences before the cows